And so the family called the police like, yo, what the is this? Hey y'all, welcome and/or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so it's been a little minute since I actually sat down in front of the camera. I mean, y'all still been seeing videos every week, but I haven't sat down in front of the camera since like January, like the beginning of January. And as we speak, I was about to look at my wrist. I have nothing there. It is February 7th. So yeah, it's been about 3.5 weeks since I actually sat down in front of the camera, which is wild. It really ain't been that much going on though. But since the last time that I filmed, me and my family have gone to Milwaukee. And y'all, when I tell y'all, it was so cold there. It was in the negatives while I was there. Now, granted, it was very beautiful and I enjoyed seeing all the snow. And most importantly, my kids enjoyed the snow because this is the most snow they've ever seen. But when I tell you 18 years was enough for me, yeah, I was ready to go because it was too cold. Very beautiful, like I said. Here is a picture somewhere on the screen of what it looked like while we was there. But yeah. And then after we got back, one of my kids got sick. And then all of my kids got sick. So we was dealing with that. Yeah. But everything's good now. Everything's better. Everything's copacetic. And so yeah, here we are back to regularly scheduled programming. And here are my nails for the week. I love the shape. Don't love the color, because while purple is my favorite color, I thought it would look very good on my nails, and I don't think it looks bad, but I feel like it's giving old lady, because I was going to do the solid red because, you know, Valentine's Day, red, pink, love, all of that. And then I was like, yeah, no, I'm not a fan of solid red. So then I was going to do solid pink, and I was like, that's real typical, so let me do purple. And now I have old lady hands, so but it's cool though. We here now. So yeah, with all of that out the way, we're gonna go ahead and dive into today's case. And today's case starts in Jamaica in 1954 when a man named Theodore Johnson was born. And he was one of 11 kids, and I'm not quite sure where he falls in birth order in that 11, but it was him and 10 other siblings in his family. And growing up, Theodore's family was said to have been pretty poor, but outside of that, I really don't know much about his upbringing, his life, his parents, his siblings, or nothing like that. But based off of the way that this case goes, I don't think that it's far-fetched to believe that Theodore was a manipulator, and a good one, throughout his years of growing up. I just feel like he was the type of person who was always able to talk his way into or out of any situation, just based off of the way this case goes. And y'all will see why I said that as the case goes on. But anyways, while Theodore was still in Jamaica, he would meet this woman named Yvonne. And he and Yvonne would end up getting married and have 2 children together. And in 1980, when Theodore was 26 years old, he, Yvonne, and their 2 children made the move from Jamaica to the UK. And once they got over to the UK, they ended up settling down in a place called Wolverhampton, which is in the West Midlands in England. And once the family moved over to England, they seemed to be pretty stable. And they moved into a high-rise apartment building where they occupied an apartment on the 9th floor. They found themselves a church home. Theodore got a job at a local garage. And I don't know if Yvonne was a stay-at-home mom or if she had a job also, but in the research I couldn't find anywhere where it said where Yvonne worked. I don't know. But nonetheless, everything seemed to be falling into place for them once they made it over to the UK. Did I say Theodore worked at a car repair shop? I think that's what I said, but just in case I didn't say that, that's where he ended up working. But yeah, like I said, aside from the small little rifts and tiffs in the relationship, everything seemed to be going well for Yvonne and Theodore. Well, for the most part. Because you see, Theodore had this controlling anger issue thing that he had going on that could cause a little bit of tension in the relationship, but Yvonne kind of knew how to deal with him. She knew how to deal with his temper tantrums. So yes, while this was an issue that Yvonne was dealing with Theodore, she was dealing with it nonetheless, even though she shouldn't have had to deal with it. But she was. This was her life, and that just was what it was. But one day in 1981, an argument between Theodore and Yvonne would start, and it would escalate quickly. Now, prior to this fight, there had been reports of the 2 of them having arguments and going back and forth before, and some of those reports were even of physical abuse from Theodore towards Yvonne. And so nobody thought that it would get to the point where it got to this day. And I know some of y'all are probably like, well, why the hell wouldn't he be in jail for DV if there had been reports of him being physically violent towards Yvonne in the past? Well, it's 1981, and for the most part, people minded their business, and it was more, I want to say, socially acceptable for a man to put a woman in her place, if you will. So this particular argument happened on a Sunday while the family was getting ready to go to church. And Theodore had came out of the room looking like he was about to go to the club and not to church. I really don't know what kind of clothes he had on, but it said that Yvonne didn't feel like the clothes that he had on were suitable for church. And she told him to go change. She told him that you're not about to be walking about this house looking crazy, and you're not about to embarrass me, and you're not about to embarrass my kids. Go put something else on that is more suitable for church. And for whatever reason, this pissed Theodore off. Now, I don't know what it was typically like for them to go to church on a Sunday and what Theodore wore on a normal Sunday, but whatever he had on this particular Sunday, Yvonne wasn't having it. And when Yvonne told him to go change clothes, he flipped out. And he grabbed the nearest thing to him at the time, which was an ashtray. And I don't know if y'all know, but ashtrays are heavy and they glass and they thick and they got some power to them. They small, but they pack a lot of power. And he grabbed this ashtray and he beat Yvonne with it. And once he was done with the ashtray, he then grabbed a vase and then a broom. And depending on who you ask, what happened next was either an accident or done on purpose. So after this attack on Yvonne, the two of them ended up on their balcony. And somehow Yvonne ended up falling from their 9-story balcony to the ground. And like I said, some people speculate that this was done on purpose and Theodore pushed her, and some people feel like she was trying to get away and then ended up just falling accidentally. But whichever way it happened, 31-year-old Yvonne did not survive this fall. And obviously authorities were called and Theodore was arrested. Now, he was arrested on murder charges, but he pleaded not guilty. And so a trial had to take place. And during this trial, the prosecution said that this was very intentional. He carried out this brutal attack on her and then he pushed her off of the balcony. His defense, however, said that that's not exactly the totality of the situation. Now, they never denied that he attacked her with those different inanimate objects. They never denied his attack on her. But what they said was that Yvonne was a terrible wife and she drove him to the point of insanity. And this particular day, he just snapped. They said that Yvonne had been an abusive and dominating wife because she was way bigger. I don't want to say way bigger, but she was bigger than Theodore. Theodore was a little man. He was short in stature and he was skinny. So they presented the case as if Yvonne was the abuser and Theodore was the abused. They said that she would make him do housework, that she would make him tend to the kids, she would make him cook and clean, and pretty much do all of the things that a father and a husband should be doing, but that's neither here nor there. And so because of all of this, they said that this particular argument was the straw that broke Theodore's back and he snapped. And they said that that's evident by the frenziedness of the attack, the multiple weapons, the whole totality of the situation. They said that that is evident that he just snapped because it was hectic, it was erratic, it was all over the place. And y'all, the judge and jury bought it. They bought the defense's argument. They convicted him of manslaughter by reason of diminished responsibility because he was abused, and they sentenced him to 3 years in prison. And while he was in prison, he claimed to have mental issues and started getting treatment for these issues. Now, some people think that the man didn't have no type of mental issues, but this was just another manipulation tactic to be able to get out sooner. And if that's the case, it worked because at the conclusion of his treatment, they deemed him fit to be back out into society, and he got out in 2 years instead of 3. So it's 1983 now, and Theodore is a free man, and he is roaming the streets of the UK. And from everything that I've learned doing this case, I've learned that Theodore is the type of person who needs the security of a relationship. Now, he also needs to be in control in said relationship, but he needs the security of a relationship nonetheless. And so once he got out, he sought another relationship. And so he moved to London and found a new partner named Yvonne Bennett. And he essentially love bombed her and started his controlling ways all over again. And it wasn't long before he started making sure he knew Yvonne's every move. Called her multiple times a day, needed to know where she was at all times. She needed permission to go certain places, like, well, anywhere. And in addition to needing to know who she was talking to, he also restricted the people who she was allowed to talk to. So again, very controlling. And need I even say that the physical abuse was present as well. And during the course of their relationship, Yvonne Bennett actually called the police on Theodore at least once. And once again, it's the 1980s. So when the police arrived and they saw that this was just a couple's quarrel, they pretty much was like, this is not my business. Y'all figure it out. And the way that Yvonne decided to figure it out was that she was going to leave Theodore. And she actually tried on multiple different occasions to leave Theodore. However, here comes the manipulation again. And anytime Yvonne would tell him that she was about to leave, he would always threaten to take himself out. And on a couple occasions, he actually even acted on it. And I don't know in what way he would take action. It probably wasn't no real action though. And quick little PSA, if anybody ever does this to you, if you try to leave a relationship and they threaten to take themselves out of this world, that is literally just a form of manipulation to try to keep you in this relationship so that they can have control over you. And obviously it would be very sad if this person followed through with that threat. However, them exiting this world was their choice. And a person choosing to exit themselves from existence because you refuse to stay in a toxic, unhealthy relationship with them is never your burden to bear. I want y'all to understand that. Please, if y'all don't take nothing else from this video, understand that that is not your burden to bear. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But anyways, Yvonne, just like many others in this situation, will always feel bad. And obviously she didn't want that to happen to him. This is a person that she did care for. And so she ended up staying in the relationship for 7 years. And in that 7 years, the two of them will also have a daughter together, which is probably another reason why Yvonne kind of struggled to leave as well. But towards the end of that relationship in 1993, Yvonne got tired. She was for real done with this. She couldn't take it no more. And so she told Theodore that she was going to leave him for real this time. And Theodore, being Theodore, most certainly tried to manipulate his way back into the relationship, buying her flowers, candy, gifts, whatever he could think of, he was trying to do. But Yvonne was standing 10 toes down. She was standing on business, okay? And once Theodore realized that she wasn't going to take him back this time, he lost his shit once again, and he ended up strangling her to death inside of their home. And afterwards, he left the house and he called the police from a call box, which we would call a payphone. And he basically told them, like, look, y'all need to go to my house because my 2-year-old daughter is there by herself and I gotta go take myself out of this world. Bye. Right? That's what he told the police. And so the police get this phone call and they like, what the hell? Okay, so we got this man threatened to take himself out and we got a 2-year-old baby at the house by themselves. So we need to go. So the police get to the apartment that he and Yvonne shared with their 2-year-old daughter, and they do find the 2-year-old there unharmed, but they also find Yvonne beyond the point of help. So now they have this deceased woman and her unattended child, but now they gotta go find the man who made the phone call. And they do end up finding him not too far away, and he was at a park where he attempted to end his life by hanging, but with a string. And so it's kind of unclear if he really was trying to take himself out or if he wanted to give the illusion that he was trying to take himself out. Because a string, bro? A string? Not a rope? Okay. So he was obviously arrested once again, and he ended up pleading not guilty by reason of diminished responsibility, citing mental instability. And so once again, another trial ensued. And during the trial, the prosecution was pretty much like, okay, y'all, look at this man's history. He killed his first wife and then served 3 years. Y'all think this was an accident? I don't think so. But the defense was like, yes, absolutely. Take a look at this man's history. He was a victim in that case. And let's also take a look at his reported threats of self-harm. And let's also take a look at the many attempts of him trying to exit this world voluntarily. Let's look at it all. And most importantly, let's take a look at what he did after he committed this crime. He was so struck with remorse that he tried to take himself out once again. This man needs help, not jail. And once again, the courts accepted this theory. And so instead of throwing the whole damn jail at this man, they allowed him to plead guilty once again to manslaughter on diminished responsibility, and he was sent to a mental institution instead of being locked up for life. Now, with this sentence to the mental institution, there was no recommended release date for him. It would be up to the people at the facility to determine whether he was stable enough for release or not, and when that would be. And that could be in 2 months or that could be never. It was all up in the air. Now, although this institution that Theodore was sent to was a secure facility, they did allow certain patients to be let out on day passes once they felt like they were stable enough to do so. And these day passes could be with or without an escort from the facility, again based on the patient's mental stability. And 1 year into his stay, Theodore proved himself to be one of these patients who was stable enough to be let out on said day pass. And he was escorted out on his day pass, and while they were out, Theodore would be attending this furniture restoration class. And one day while Theodore was out with his escort, one of Yvonne Bennett's family members saw him out. Now, this was a complete shock to her because she thought that this man should be locked in a mental institution for the rest of his life, never to see the light of day again. And nobody informed the family that he was allowed out on these day passes. So this was a complete surprise. And so the family called the police like, yo, what the fuck is this? But the police really didn't think too much of it, or the detectives or whoever they called didn't think too much of it because he was being escorted. So that meant that he was still under some type of supervision. And so, yeah, they was pretty much just like, don't worry about it. So another year goes by. It's mid-1995 now, and Theodore has been attending this restoration class with his escort consistently over the past year. And now he has proven himself worthy enough to be let out on this day pass without an escort. And so now he's attending this furniture restoration class solo dolo. And this is when he meets a lady, a mother of 4 children named Angela Best. And technically he was still a psych patient at this point when he met her, so he kept it kind of cute. Nothing major, just little chit chats over tea. He didn't want to have a full-blown relationship with her. It was just like a little friendship. And this friendship lasted over the course of the next 2 years until about October of 1997 when Theodore would be released from psychiatric custody. So this man has killed 2 people, 2 women, and he's let out again. Now, he was released with a couple of stipulations, though. And those stipulations included the fact that he was not allowed to get into another serious relationship. And if he did, he needed to report it to his social worker. And he would also have random at-home visits to make sure that he was in compliance with those stipulations. And just like that, Theodore was back into society. And literally, right after he was released, he violated the terms of his release because he started a full-blown relationship with Angela. And the 2 of them remained in a relationship for the next 19 years. And for 19 years, Theodore hid the fact that he was in a serious relationship from his social worker. The social worker would even come by the house, and she didn't know that he had a whole ass long-term girlfriend. It's been said that the social worker would often call prior to coming to the house. So he probably had time to make sure that Angela was out of the house and make sure that there was no pictures of them, make sure that the social worker didn't see none of her clothes or nothing like that. I don't know how that worked because for 19 years, and not only was he hiding the fact that he was in a relationship with Angela from his social workers, he was hiding the fact that he was a double murderer from Angela. She had no idea that she was in a relationship with a man who killed 2 of his previous partners until one day in 2016. Now, I don't know if she was cleaning up. I don't know if she was snooping. I have no idea how she came across the information that she came across. But one day she found some papers that detailed Theodore's past. And once she realized who he really was, Angela said she had to go. She said, listen, we can be friends. I mean, I've been loving you for 19 years. I'm never going to stop loving you. But this relationship, what we got going on right now, I can't do this. And now we know how Theodore gets when people try to leave him. We know that this is not going to end well. But initially, Angela believes that it is going well because Theodore left with no problems. However, on December 15th, 2016, Theodore called Angela and asked her could she help him fill out some paperwork. And she agreed. Like I said, she wanted to remain friends with him, but she just couldn't be in a relationship with him. And so she agreed to help him with this paperwork. And so she goes to the house that she and Theodore once shared. And as soon as she gets there, Theodore attacks her with a claw hammer and then strangles her to death. And after murdering Angela, in true Theodore fashion, he decided that he didn't want to be in this world no more. But apparently he was for real this time because he went down to the Chestnut train station and jumped in front of an express train. And the bystanders who was at the train station immediately called 999. And once police arrived and realized who had just jumped in front of a train, they was like, oh my gosh, we need to get to his house because it seems like the only time he be trying to off himself is when he done hurt somebody. And so they go to the house that he and Angela once shared. And of course, they do find Angela there, deceased. And they know that Theodore is now a serial killer at this point. And despite this very real attempt on his life, Theodore somehow manages to survive jumping in front of a train. He did end up losing both hands and a leg, but he's alive nonetheless. But he knew that this time it wasn't going to go over well like the last 2 times. And so he ended up just pleading guilty straight out the gate. And he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 26 years. Which, I don't understand why he even has the possibility of parole after he done killed 3 women 3 separate times and he done played in y'all face like this. I don't know. But he'll be eligible after 26 years. But Theodore didn't like that though. He said that wasn't fair and he felt like his sentence should be adjusted. He wanted to have parole before 26 years. And the court was like, you know what? We should adjust your sentence, but we're not going to adjust it the way you want us to adjust it. We're going to adjust it to where you can't get out until after 30 years. So congratulations, you played yourself. And I mean, yeah, what a mighty fine time to lock this man up for life when he has no hands and no leg. Like, who he going to strangle and attack now? I mean, keep his ass locked up, but damn. He should have been locked up for a long time after the first time. And if he wasn't locked up for a long time after the first time, he should have been locked up for a long time after the second time. Y'all really gave this man 3 chances? Anyways, y'all, that is all I have for today's case. Thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. And according to who? But in the meantime, while James, and once the family got all settled in and stuff, and while he was in prison, he ended up taking up a counseling. I think he moved to England. Where he moved to? He moved to London. Wait, London ain't in England? London is in England. And so she would end up staying in the relationship for another, she would end up oh my gosh. And once Theodore realized that he wasn't, and this friendship lasted until about when? Okay. I'm self-conscious. I don't wear wigs. I'll be right back. I need to go fix my wig. Hold on. How y'all like my wig? Ooh, I had to caress and finesse the baby, but it's okay. She looks good now, I think.